Hey, what is going on, everyone? Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Getting ready to ring in the new year tonight, of course. Hopefully, the weather is cooperating where you are. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. Welcome to the live stream. There is a ton to talk about. So, if you have a free couple of minutes, hop on, grab some coffee. I have mine. I'm almost on my third cup of the morning. So, this could be an interesting live stream as I am highly caffeinated, and I hope that you guys are as well. Come with your questions, comments. What is the weather doing where you are? Please post that in the comment section below. Please let me know where you're watching from, and then we can kind of dictate where this live stream goes depending upon where you guys are tuning in from, because there's coast-to-coast implications here. Of course, I've got the radar locked in on the West Coast in California specifically, because this is atmospheric river like one of four that is going to be coming down the pipeline over the first week of January into the first week of 2023. So things are about to get rocking again in the weather world. We're already seeing that here in California. This isn't even the main event of those atmospheric rivers. Plus, again, we're going to have that severe weather threat really ramping up again. I know it pains me to talk about the Deep South again in this regard, that we are once again under the gun for some really nasty thunderstorms Monday into Tuesday, and then again Tuesday into Wednesday. So just awful, awful stuff on that front. If you're a snow lover, though, in the plains, on the cold side of that system, we are going to be talking about the potential for some significant snow and ice. So we're going to break all of that down as well. Again, just wanted to give you guys a live look on the first round, the most active weather in the country, which is out west. We'll get into that in a second. Hey, Ann, what's going on? Good to see you again. We'll check out Tennessee, see what's going on there. And there is your rain. There's Nashville. There's Knoxville, of course. Check in on all of the different radars. So you have showers nearby, of course, as you well know, as you just reported that as well. So there is your radar. Oh, man, that's crazy. I can't even imagine what you are seeing down there after those rounds and rounds of severe weather. And there's another one to go, so please be safe and stay weather aware in the Deep South as you are down there as well, because right off to where we're just taking a look at the radar, there is the risk for severe weather over the next couple of days. So already enhanced risk from the Storm Prediction Center out of Norman, Oklahoma for the same areas that were under the gun the last two times. There's Little Rock, there's Shreveport, Texarkana, we're under the gun for that as well. So there is the main bullseye there, that enhanced risk. That once again means that we have the potential and growing potential for significant severe weather. Of course, tornado is going to be one of the main risks here as we get into Monday night into Tuesday. I know it's super, super lame. I think we might have a shot. We need to get lows that ride. Let me bust my illustration out real quick. We need to get low pressure to ride the south and then move its way up. If my illustration decides to load today, that obviously has not had caffeine. My computer is going slow. There it is. All right. We need to get something that kind of rides like this with enough cold air on the back end so that we have that moisture. Because that's the same thing that happened the last time. We didn't get a ton of snow, of course, in Tennessee because it was coming from a moisture-starved location. Hey, John, thank you for that report in Johnson City. All right, so we are going to get to it. Again, we are starting with, well, let's see. Where do you guys want to start with? The severe weather, the snow in the plains, or the atmospheric river setup over the next couple of weeks? You tell me. What would you guys like to dive into, or something else? You guys drive this. We're just kind of hanging out, talking about the weather on New Year's Eve. And again, 2023 is going to start very similar to how 2022 is going to end on an active note. Hey, that's awesome. I'm loving it. I'm so glad that happened. All right, so we have a request for the atmospheric river. So we are going to go back out to the west coast of the United States. Already some super heavy rain. Again, this is atmospheric river number 1 of like a million over the next couple of days. So the best way, I got to switch my, there we go, switch my view for you so you can see it a little better. Hey, if you are interested in the West Coast, you are getting here at the right time, my friend, because we are about to dive in to the West Coast. We're going to work ourselves from west to east. We're going to break down the series of atmospheric rivers. And then, John, we're going to talk about the snow in the plains, and then we will go down into the severe weather threat that is the same system that will bring the snow to the plains. All right, so here we go. This is atmospheric river number 1. And this is the Pineapple Express. Here's Hawaii down here in the corner. And we have that deep tropical connection. You see the dark green there. That is what we call the Pineapple Express. So taking this out, this is number 1. So atmospheric river number 1. And basically we call this an atmospheric river because it's a river of moisture in the atmosphere that then unloads when it hits land. And in this case, we are going to see it unload in central California, bringing a ton of snow. Wait till you see some of these snowfall forecast amounts for the Sierra Nevadas and also the rain coming to Southern California as well. So going forward, that's atmospheric river number 1. We'll take a break Sunday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, into Monday morning. But here we go, atmospheric river number 2. You see, again, this very narrow band of Pacific moisture that's just going to plow right into California. So the second one is the weakest one. It will still bring some rain and snow to California, but it's the weakest of the bunch. Then number 3 is extremely significant. Here is our low pressure that's going to be riding up towards British Columbia, but look at this steady stream of moisture extending all the way beyond Hawaii and then all the way up through California. Again, this transport of tropical moisture that's just going to be unleashed in California. And you clearly see here the extra moisture plume right there. That is the enhancement that the Sierra Nevadas are going to do once this, almost relatively speaking, wall of water gets thrown right up against the mountains. It lifts, it cools, condenses, and then you get that very, very heavy snowfall. We are going to be measuring snow in feet in the Sierra Nevada. So already a really good winter is going to get even better. So that's atmospheric river number 3, and I believe we're even going to get a 4th one cranking up. There it is right there. Not as significant as number 3, but as we get into January 7th and 8th, insane. So we are going to be able to get some of that moisture, Jonathan, into inland areas. I'll show you some of the snowfall forecasts of places like Utah. I think Lake Mead is going to get some of that water. Not a ton, maybe a half inch, an inch max. It's something, though, that will help with that drought situation. It's going to be on the other side, too wet. All right, so here we go. This is the amount of moisture that is going to be coming to the desert Southwest. So all along the coast, San Francisco, Sacramento, further down the coast into Los Angeles, into extreme Southwest California. I blanked on the city name that I have. Long Beach. Maybe I don't have enough caffeine. But here it is there, 5 to 10 inches of rain all up and down the coast. I mean, even in LA, it's going to be crazy in Los Angeles to see that much rain in LA. And then you see the ridiculous amount of moisture up in here through the Sierra Nevadas. That is all going to be snow. That's all going to be snow. We're going to take a look at that snowfall forecast in just a second. But this is not going to be good news for California. This is no doubt, well, there's going to be 2 main areas for the first week of 2023 that I'm concerned about. It's going to be the deep south with that severe weather threat, and then the relentless rain and moisture just being unleashed into California. And again, not good news, especially in areas that have seen wildfire damage, those burn scars If there's vegetation that is left, those have been burned away, there's not much to hold the soil back. So I am expecting, unfortunately, through the first week of January, a lot of flash flooding, a lot of mudslides. So while this is great news, drought-busting rain for sure, we don't want it all at once. And unfortunately, we're going to get 5 to 10 inches, maybe even more, in about a week's span here. So again, not what we want to see. All right. We're going to move on to the snowfall component of these atmospheric rivers. And again, if you are liking this live stream, if you are enjoying the conversation, please give this a thumbs up. It does help out the channel a lot. It helps YouTube push this out a little more. So I would appreciate that. And if you are new here and finding us for the first time, welcome. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegis. Please consider subscribing if you like talking and tracking the weather. All right, so if you stick around for just a couple of minutes, we are going to get into that. I love it. I love the coffee runs. I know I need a little bit more, and I'm finishing my second. So while we are waiting for Jonathan to get back, I know he was interested in the snow stuff in the West Coast. We're going to take a look at these snow amounts, and then we're going to break down that severe weather threat. At first glance, I wouldn't think that hail is going to be the main threat, especially where you are in Indiana and Illinois, or where you're concerned with. But we're gonna break it down a little bit further here. We're just gonna cut right to the chase with this snow. Look at all of it. I need to change my telestration color because it's gonna blend right in with this. That purple color you see there, that's 100 inches of snow. Now, this is for the whole week. So this is starting tonight, New Year's Eve in the Sierra Nevadas, and then going through January 7th and 8th. Crazy. We're talking about, you see the model there maxing out at 145 inches. Oh, wow. Okay. This one right here. That's pretty giant. I'll go back to the model prediction there. So yeah, and as you mentioned, and as you thought, I mean, you're still going to get some rain. Model here over the next week, a ½ inch to an inch. So it's certainly going to be more beneficial for you. Just to your west, though, LA, Sacramento. I know Sacramento's not just to your west, but right along the coast, that's where we can have some really, really big issues. And again, that's unfortunately, I think, going to steal the weather headlines, in addition to the severe weather threat in the Deep South. So we're going to transition to this next system here, which just at first glance, and we'll break down the snow component, there is where the enhanced risk is for... That is where the enhanced risk is. This orange shaded color here, that's the main concern for the potential for damaging winds and long-track tornadoes. Now, on the northern side of this is going to be snow. So that's where our drought is. So that's our drought monitor where the exceptional drought remains. That all might be gone by the end of the week. By the end of next week. There's going to be a ton of moisture there. I want to show you the wide view first, and then we're going to get into the severe weather side of this, and then we're going to get to the snow part. I'm going to reverse what I said before because there's a little more analysis needed for the snow. There's still some discrepancies, and I want to kind of break that down clear, but I know there's a lot of people on right now concerned about the severe weather in the south. So just kind of working from west to east again, putting a bow on this. And we can come back to the atmospheric river and to the southwest. I know we have some questions about Arizona. Certainly, here is what we're looking at for Arizona, and that rain is going to make it there. So here, of course, is Arizona. I would honestly say anybody in the desert southwest will be under the gun for some flooding through the first week of January with these systems just kind of parading through. It's a very atypical of a La Nina pattern. typically we would see the moisture going towards British Columbia or the Pacific Northwest. In an El Nino year is when we had the subtropical jet just blasting California a lot. Again, it's drought-busting rain. We don't want all of this at once. So turning back off my telestration and going forward in time, here is our big system that's going to ramp up in the plains and into the deep south. So unfortunately, and they are, I think at least for in the short term on that Monday to Tuesday, these are going to stay to your west in Tennessee, at least in central Tennessee. But here's the deal. Whoops, just went back in time. I think most of these storms get going late. So this is going to be 6 o'clock in the evening central time. And this is about where we're going to start looking for that severe weather potential. East Oklahoma, East Texas. So this does get a late start. And then it's going to be overnight that this moves into the enhanced risk area. So this is at about 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, 1 a.m. Central Time. And now where that darker green is. And I'm going to have the high resolution stuff to show you guys over the next couple of days as we get within that 48 hours. And we'll certainly break that down in more detail hour by hour in some of my future videos that are coming out. And of course, we'll be live on there as well, kind of breaking this down in real time. Yeah, they're the worst. Overnight storm, and brings up a good point. I mean, hate is the word to use for sure, but they are the worst because a lot of people obviously want to go to bed. And it's just important to have the warnings. And it's just deja vu. I feel like it was just last week we were talking about that severe weather threat again in the deep south. I mean, I guess it was just last week, but 2 weeks ago. So here's the deal for the plains. I know we had some people watching or at least concerned about the plains. There's the snow that gets going, I think, right now. And we do have winter storm watches right about here. That's going to be your best potential for your significant 6+ inches of snow. Some places could close in on a foot. This time around, though, we're also going to have that ice component. So it's going to be that fine line between who gets the heavy snow and who gets the freezing rain. That will need to be fine-tuned a little bit as we move over to the weekend. I'm going to have my official forecast coming out on Monday for the snow amounts in the Monday video. And then here is our center of low pressure. So again, that's game on for southwest Minnesota, Nebraska. You're in the primo position here on the European solution for a lot of heavy snow. Severe weather threat continues to go into midnight and overnight. And then it's going to move a little bit further to the east. Yeah, no, that's yeah, that is definitely enough for PTSD. No, that's awful stuff. I hope that you were okay with that and it did not get impacted by that significantly or your property. As we move into Tuesday, we are going to have that severe weather threat continue. So now it moves into Tennessee, panhandle of Florida, and then into the southeast. That is what we would see. Now, the Storm Prediction Center also has that outlook. They'll bring you back to, they have the day 4 outlook. And again, this has been outlook for the last 5 days. Again, let me turn on my day 4. And then there is the official outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. So I just kind of loosely drew, and it matches up. So really and this is going to be on Tuesday into Wednesday. So from Atlanta to Birmingham to Huntsville, Montgomery, Mobile, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Jackson. Now, one of our friends talked about the potential for a hail in these areas. What I'm going to do now, I think I can do it from this. We're going to switch to the surface-based cape. For that really big hail, you need to have cape values pretty big. That's the convective available potential energy. It's all just wrapped into one word there, cape. It's basically the fuel for these storms. And there's a little bit, but let me go to, this is the upper low here. This is going to be the feature responsible. So this big low here, you have, and that is going to be Tuesday morning. So as this thing gets going here, I wouldn't, just glancing at it, I would have to do a lot more analysis with the skewed T's if our friend was still on asking about the hail with from the upper air balloon data. It doesn't scream like this is going to be a large hail event in like Indiana and in Illinois, in the southern part anyway. I'm just going to bring up another look at the surface features again. I mean, it could get a little nasty. The warm front's going to just kind of jog up this way. Cold front's here. You have the occlusion. I don't know. I still don't think that large hail is going to be the main threat here, but I would have to do some more analysis. But it's not screaming that this is going to be a large hail thing. So it's actually there's a clear air turbulence, I think, is what you might be referring to. There's not enough moisture to get clouds or anything like that, and it's some of those things that can like kind of jostle planes a little bit, that pilots don't know that it's there until it's reported by another pilot that's been impacted by it. But yeah, it's called clear air turbulence, and it's just like that. The atmosphere behaves very similarly to the ocean. So crazy stuff there. All right, so there you have that. Again, that's what we're going to be watching for specifically as we get into Monday through Wednesday, the severe weather threat for the Deep South. So that's one area we're watching. And again, there's no doubt going to be catastrophic flooding potential on the immediate coast of California, in the foothills of the Sierras, and then right along the coast with 5 to 10 inches of rain coming. I wanted to show you, I saved this for last, kind of. This is the European solution here. This is the cold end of the system responsible for the severe weather. And I know we had some people interested. I wanted to get to this in case they had to go. But there's where we're going to see the likely biggest part of the heavy snow. I think it's going to be right through the panhandle of Nebraska, right about in here. There still are some differences, though. The GFS, if I recall, wants to put, we'll get back to that in a second, wants to put the heaviest band of snow, go back, a little further north. So it wants it to go from Pierre out of Casper, Wyoming, and then up towards Duluth, whereas the Europeans a little further south, it wants it more like Alliance, Nebraska, to Sioux Falls, to like the Twin Cities. So keep that in mind if you're watching or concerned about, or I don't want to say concerned, or interested in the upper Midwest and Northern Plains, that there's still some wiggle room as to where the heaviest band of snow is going to set up. And a 50 to 75 mile jog is going to mean the difference between like freezing rain, snow, or nothing at all. So I think like Montana, North Dakota, northern Minnesota, we're going to miss out on this one. But just to your south, there's likely going to be a stripe of at least 6 to 12 inches of snow coming through there. How severe for the North Carolina-Virginia border? We're definitely going to be watching that. So this is where the Storm Prediction Center has their day 4 outlooks. This is going to be Tuesday into Wednesday. As we get into Thursday, we might be able to see that here. And I think this is when Wednesday afternoon, I would not be surprised. Let me just do, I'm doing some like real-time analysis. So we're going to be bouncing all over the place here. So, I mean, I think Wednesday we could have a decent shot. Our upper low is now moved over Illinois. We have those southwest winds kind of screaming here. So I would not be surprised Wednesday afternoon if we were able to get some severe weather, maybe as far north as Southern Virginia. I think we're going to have a shot there. I don't think as terrible as what we could see there. What we could see a little bit further southwest. Certainly, what we're going to see on Tuesday. I have way too many tabs open. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, just opening up way too many tabs. But there's a lot to show, so I'm bouncing all over the place because, okay, there we go. And that's basically here. This is the good rendition of where that warm sector is, where the most unstable areas, so where we just kind of highlighted there. I think that's where we could see that severe weather threat as we get into Wednesday afternoon, so maybe just over the Virginia border. Still, though, it's not going to be as bad as what it could be on Monday into Tuesday in parts of the Deep South. Tennessee, if we get any of that severe weather, and I think a lot is still left to be ironed out on that. Sorry for the bouncing. I swear must have changed. It's going to be moving through Tennessee on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So maybe early Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night. So one of those overnight things. But again, we're not too... There is the official spot right now. And yeah, so there is... As we zoom in on Tennessee. And then could have just looked at that rather than going all over. This is the official outlook there from the Storm Prediction Center. That does have Central Tennessee, at least part of it, highlighted for the severe weather stuff. Yes, so that's a good point. So the freezing layer, as we call it, is going to be lower because it's winter, so it doesn't take as intense of an updraft to get the rain to freeze like it would in the summertime. With that said, for the hail, it's got to go up and down and cycle up in the atmosphere and stay up there so it can continue to collect those raindrops and grow. But yeah, no, that's a good point. It doesn't take as much because it's colder up there, and it doesn't need to go as high up in the atmosphere to freeze. Absolutely. A good point. I think at this point, that's all we can do. Know that potential is there, and it's a pretty dynamic system coming through. But I think that's certainly the best advice that I have for you on this New Year's Eve. And again, that is the day 4 risk. That is going to be Tuesday into Wednesday. And then again, kind of the hot off the press stuff from early this morning. That enhanced risk again for places like Little Rock to Shreveport. I love it. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, what is going on? Welcome. And I see we have a bunch of extra people on the channel. If you are finding us for the first time, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kagas. If you've been enjoying the live stream and the conversation we're all having with each other, please give this a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you love talking and tracking the weather. We try to go live every Saturday and then as necessary during the week in addition to the routine content. So here's the deal with that. I think it's hard to say. When I put my winter forecast together, it looked like we were going to have another round of cold in January and February. I think the atmosphere is going to be unloading. It's kind of recharging from its craziness that was last week. I think we're going to have another round, another kind of blast of Arctic cold as we get into the second to third week of January. So look for that for like the return of winter. On a widespread scale, we are certainly going to have winter weather in the Dakotas, Nebraska, the Sierra Nevadas. That's a given. But on a widespread scale, at least a push east, look for the second to third week of winter. I don't know if anybody's watching from the Northeast. along that 95 corridor, especially how we've missed out so far this winter. All the big stuff, all the good stuff has been inland runners. But our shot for the big one in the Northeast, I think we're going to have towards that second to third week, or that third to fourth week, and that the back half of January. You know, it's a possibility. You could be heading into a colder time. I will say though, it does look increasingly likely that we get back to an El Nino next year, which does favor more often than not warmer global temperatures. So we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to watch and see how everything comes together to next year, if that's going to impact the temperatures, which it should, because by rights it should, and then that should also keep an active weather pattern for the west coast of the United States. We are going to be under the gun in Tulsa, so we'll go back in. We are in that quote-unquote marginal risk right now. It looks like the storm itself in Tulsa is going to ramp up a little bit too late for stuff, but we are in that risk. I will show you. Here's the deal. This is going to be Monday afternoon on January 2nd. So here's our low. Strengthening, bringing some heavy snow already to the northwest, as they typically do. And then as the storm kind of blows up a little bit, that's when we get the severe weather going. So I think that's accurately highlighted by the Storm Prediction Center. Of course, they know what they're doing. They're the experts, the smartest people on earth when it comes to severe storm prediction. And that's where they have the highlight. So you're going to be, I think, right on that leading edge, right at the beginning of that severe weather outbreak. So certainly Monday afternoon is going to be your time to watch for a couple of potential tornadoes. I do think that threat increases, as we see here. Let me see if I still have my upper level depiction here. So as this is going to be now 6 p.m. Tulsa time, there's our low. We're starting to see this little thing right here? I'm going to bring up a different rendition. I'm going to bring up the wind up at this level to show you this little jet streak that comes screaming. Here is where we really start to see. So this is going to be at like 1 a.m., midnight to 1 a.m. Central Time. We have this big jet streak here. And that is what's going to really enhance the severe weather threat right out in here. So that jet streak really gets going just to your east. Again, you might see some of the initial explosive development of those storms right around Tulsa. And so yeah, you're under the gun for that. But I do think the highest threat is to your east. To make a long story short, even though I just told that long story. Hey, what's going on? I do think it will. I think it's going to be a little bit later on in the week, though. I think Wednesday into Thursday is your time. We'll back it up. So here we go. This is Wednesday afternoon, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock. So yeah, look for Wednesday afternoon. I know this is kind of zoomed out, but here we go in South Carolina with the opportunity for a few stronger thunderstorms in the mix. My gosh, it seems like they're following you. Yeah, Alabama has been a hotbed for tornadoes over the last 10, 15 years. I think you are correct. I think we're going to see something again. The Inland Empire is going to be a little bit more beneficial rain than the crazy flooding stuff. But you're very welcome. Thank you for tuning in and for finding us on this New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. So yeah, I'm just going through the comments. And while I do that, there's a lot of people on this live stream now. So thank you so much for taking some time on this New Year's Eve. I know everyone's busy, so I really appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't already, I would appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button. It allows YouTube to send this out to more people. It lets them know you're enjoying what we're the conversation that we are having together here on this New Year's Eve afternoon or morning, I guess. I guess depending upon where you are, it's certainly the morning on the West Coast. It's still the morning on the East Coast. So unless you're in like the United Kingdom or something, it's morning everywhere in the U.S. See, this is what I'm talking about. That third cup of coffee, I'm going to have to get into that really, really quick. But if you are new here, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, and we talk and track all things weather. So if you like doing that stuff, if you like tracking the stuff or just want to stay informed, would love it if you hit that subscribe button and join this awesome weather community here. We have a lot of fun. We try to go live every Saturday when possible, when I can, which is most Saturdays. And then in addition to the normal content, and then as needed, we go live during the week as well, and we might have to do that on Monday into Tuesday. Hey, thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Ant, a lot, because there are a lot of weather channels out there, so that means a lot, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you keep coming back and joining the conversation. Yeah, it's been great talking to you, and I love getting the weather reports from what you're seeing in your backyard, because that helps to tell the weather story, and really helps to kind of get that out to other people. So I've been enjoying your reports, and from Tennessee, of course. Hey, Shamika, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Absolutely, and thanks for coming on board. We love having you here, and I hope you have a happy New Year as well, and that you're warming up from the blast of cold from last week and everything. So let me know. Now you're being too kind. You are being too kind. I'm glad that you're here, because again, you bring a ton of insight, especially with the severe weather stuff. It's unfortunate that you have that much insight in dealing with so much severe weather, but nonetheless, all of your insight is critical here. So I appreciate you as well. Happy New Year to you as well, Gary. Thanks, Jonathan. I guess I'm just seeing these comments now. It just seems like it's so many tornado stories, unfortunately. Good stuff, Gary. Good to see you from Houston. Glad you are warming up and seeing the sunshine. Get out of here. That's insane. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, so we'll be watching you in Sioux Falls, right? I know you're South Dakota. I think you're Sioux Falls, or at least just to the north of Sioux Falls. We're going to be watching that closely. You're going to be right on that line, but if you get it, you're going to get it. Like 6 to 12 inches of snow in that narrow band. We just have to fine-tune, because that 25 mile per hour movement. Hey, Ted, we are going to go there right now. We did, but we're going to go back since you are on, and we're just kind of rambling on about some stuff together. What part of northern Minnesota? If you want to get the snow, you want the GFS to come into fruition. Here is, I think, this is the GFS right here. Okay. Duluth. One of my best friends lives in Duluth. News anchor at KBJR. I believe it's KBJR. So we're going to be texting about this one, because we love talking about snow. I used to live in Rochester for a long time. Southern part of the state, of course, but great snowstorms out there. So you want the GFS to be correct. Here is the European rendition, which still might give you a little bit, but you're certainly on. See, it wants to favor more the Twin Cities and South. This is the European. So there's still a lot to be ironed out. I'm going to try to wish cast for you. You're not out of it just yet. Just going to look at, I guess that's all I can do, that zoomed in. So yeah, the European gives you like 3 inches, maybe a little bit more. That's just a straight up 10-to-1 ratio. So I think you could get a little bit more than that. I mean, that's So I think you're going to get something, but you see here again the crushing totals. I wouldn't maybe call this crushing. I'm just used to saying crushing because of Buffalo and what the Sierra is going to get. But like the jackpot totals of this storm are going to be, I think, right through. And see, like I think the Euro might be a little too far south here. I think Pierre could get a little more. It's going to be tight. 50 to 75 miles difference is gonna make or break the big snows here. And of course, there's going to be a lot of snow in the Rockies. Salt Lake City. I was talking to somebody the other day from Salt Lake City on the channel. They hoping to break their snow drought, and I think they're going to get a good amount of snow if anybody's watching from around northern Utah. Great snows for the ski resorts. It's certainly been a good winter already for that. So game on. I'm going to try to... The Icon did really well. The German Icon. It did really well for the Christmas blizzard. It accurately predicted that Chicago wasn't going to get much, and really west of Chicago wasn't going to get much. So I never really put stock into the Icon, so we're going to see what happens here again. But it's telling the same kind of story as the Euro. It wants it further south, so more like the Twin Cities, back down into central Nebraska, and that is where the winter storm watch is. I'll put up, that's the bullseye for the main stuff, but I'll turn on all of the watches here if it loads. We'll see if it loads. I love how you just go right to right that it's going to be rain, because you know a lot of times you miss out. So here is where the winter storm watch is. It's these blue checkered boxes just south of Pierre that include Sioux Falls, just to the west of Sioux City, most of Nebraska, and then just outside of Denver, and then into Cheyenne. There's a winter storm warning out already for the Rockies into Idaho Falls and stuff. Let's go back, because depending upon what part of Iowa you are, and if you let me know what part of Iowa that you're watching from or interested in, we can go check that out a little bit further, because I do think some of Iowa is getting snow, especially if you're in the northwest corner. And then there's also the ice component to this. Dubuque. Okay, yeah. All right, you already know. And Dubuque is a hard one too. You need, like, when Chicago gets, wrecked with their big stuff, that's when we tend to get it in Dubuque. So there you go. I mean, everything is going to stay off to your west, all the snow and all of the ice. So if you look at it that way, because we're going to have the low right here. I don't know if you can see the isobars, the pressure lines here, but that's where our low is sitting. So not good for, you're in the worst possible spot for any kind of snow. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I need to stop eating Christmas cookies because I can't fit into stuff. It's bad. I've gotten away from sugar and now I'm back into it. What kind of icing? So here we go with, it shouldn't be anything too crazy because we're moving. It looks like it's mainly just going to be a line, but I would not be surprised if we can get a glaze of ice right in here where you see this pink color, the oranger color, more orange color. You can't see the gut. The gut's under the desk. But so I don't think it's a ton. I think maybe a glaze up to 1/10 of an inch. I don't think we're looking at a complete ice storm, but maybe enough to cause some issues there. Southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and then into eastern Nebraska as we're kind of changing things over. Certainly more of a ice stormy setup than what we had the last time. We just had that cold air rushing in. Now we have the warm air kind of being going into the cold air and being overrunning it, that's where you get your ice. So we're going to be watching, or your better ice, which I don't think anybody likes. Oh, no, not a dumb question at all. So the deal with this is that we have, let me see if I can back this up. Absolutely. Of course, and thank you for tuning in. We talked a lot about Canada. That was really when I first escapades into Canada with the Christmas blizzard. We were talking about Ontario and into Ottawa, Montreal. It was a lot of fun forecasting for you guys, depending upon what part of Canada you're in as well. We venture into the Caribbean a lot when there's some active weather going on in the Caribbean. Thankfully, for the most part, it's quiet. Let me see if I can find my zoomed out map again to kind of show. So what we have going on here, we have to get icing, you need to have cold air at the surface with a sliver of warm air a couple thousand feet above the surface. So you need the snowflake to be falling way up in the cloud. As it comes down, it melts and turns into a raindrop. And then that layer of warm air above the surface is deep enough that it stays a raindrop until it reaches the surface, which is below freezing, and then it freezes on contact. So you're looking for the sweet spot for that. So we have high pressure right here. You have clockwise flow around high pressure that's going to be delivering the colder air to the surface. And then at the same time, there's our low right there. We have counterclockwise flow around low pressure. So you have the cold air being supplied from Canada into the upper Midwest and northern plains. And then as we're pumping in some of that warmth, since at the same pressure, warmer air is less dense than colder air and it rises. Remember, as they tell you when you're kids, if there's a fire, you want to stay down low because all the warm air is going to rise. Same situation here. That warm air is going to be forced up and over that dome of cold air that's being built at the surface. So then that snowflake falls through it, it melts, turns to rain, and then it encounters that colder air that's residing at the surface. And then that's where you get that. And then you oftentimes get this kind of narrow stripe here where that zone is, because then here it's all cold enough through the entire column from the surface all the way up through the atmosphere to keep a snowflake. So there's a lot of cool cloud physics and stuff, and with the temperature gradients and all that stuff, all that stuff. Gary, I am so glad you asked. All right, so if the weather ever calms down, that's going to be the feature. I'm going to try to maybe get that out this week as well. But since we're all here, we're all talking, I do think the Arctic chill is coming back. I think there's going to be another polar vortex event. I know that's a buzzword. It's an actual thing. It's in the stratosphere, though, so it doesn't actually invade us like a lot of people say it does. So when you see polar vortex, there's no reason to get scared. There's no reason to freak out. It does typically mean that there's cold coming, but not in the sense that you might think. Anyway, I think we're going to see the polar vortex again start to get stretched a little bit in the stratosphere. When that happens, that typically can weaken our jet stream that we know, and then we can get those cold shots. So that's what happened a couple of weeks ago. We track this by, if you're a weather nerd or want to be a weather nerd or just getting into the nitty gritty and the science and meteorology and stuff, we track that with the Arctic oscillation. And when the Arctic oscillation is positive, that means that the polar vortex is very stable, it's strong, all of the cold air stays into Canada and into the Arctic. But when there's something we call a sudden stratospheric warming event, it weakens the stratospheric polar vortex, which then can have ramifications of weakening the jet stream. And when the jet stream is weak, it buckles, and all of that cold that the jet is holding up into the Arctic and into Canada, when it buckles, it kind of lets it all spill down into the lower 48. So that's what we're going to be seeing again, I think. And that's going to happen towards the second or third week of January. A lot of times there's a week-ish to 2 week period where the atmosphere realizes what happened before it starts to get through. Let me see. I never like to do this, but I just want to see if... All right, so here we go. Typically, again, when that happens, when you're switching those oscillations around, you do generate a big storm. The Christmas blizzard was a byproduct of that. So just going out, and I've not looked at anything like this, so I'm glad that it's actually showing something. Now, I would never put stock in this, okay? Like, I would never plaster this on social media that, okay, here we go. This is going to be the, this is getting into the 12th of January. That's 2 weeks away of something getting into the East Coast. So the GFS is showing something, though. But it's all about pattern recognition. So does this hold true? The thing I will say is, and you see kind of these red lines here, this is what we didn't have. So this is higher than normal pressures here. And then also to note, again, this is just like, I'm just kind of, I went down a rabbit hole now. So we're like way far out into the future, so none of this is likely going to hold true. But if this did, we have high pressure here, and that's going to supply the cold air. We also have high pressure here. It's that Boise Ridge. And I know we were talking a lot. If you were with me a couple of weeks ago, people were plastering all over social media when the models were like, New York is going to get slammed. The 95 corridor is going to get slammed. The pattern wasn't right for that. We didn't have the ridge out here. The ridge was like over the Gulf of Alaska. So that would promote the inland runner, which we did have. So what I'm trying to say is that looking at a model 2 weeks premature is, especially to put any kind of stock into it, we're just having some fun with it now, but is completely irresponsible, inappropriate, and I hate that when it's plastered everywhere. If you want to get my blood pressure up, that's a way to do it. But when you see something like this and you know that the atmosphere is going to be able to be conducive to producing something like that, it's like, okay. So December 31st, this is going to be something that we all kind of found together here, that we looked together here from our question here. All right, we're going to keep on checking up on this guy and seeing if this is on to something, which it could be, because again, it would match the pattern. So that's the thing. Hey, Jason, unfortunately, I do think we are going to get that. I'm going to go right to this because this is the serious part, or at least one of the two serious parts here. But most of Arkansas already under the gun for that enhanced risk. And again, that's pretty rare to be outlooked in that higher probability 4 days out, which was yesterday, which we were, and now 3 days out to be in the enhanced risk. Again, that is level 3 out of 5. So this is something, again, you want to be paying attention to. And I do think that it's going to be happening later in the day, like evening, maybe even into the overnight. So the highest probability for that bad weather to happen, with the potential for damaging winds and tornadoes, is going to be from about Little Rock, give or take, all the way down to Shreveport, Texarkana, and then through extreme eastern Oklahoma. So not good news again. I know we've been through the ringer here the last couple of weeks. I love it. It does look like an avocado. Got to have some humor with that. It does look like an avocado. There you go. That's a severe avocado. So you don't want to see the avocado on the weather map. I might use that. When that outlook looks like an avocado, it's not good. But in all seriousness, we're going to watch that closely again, and we're going to, again, be paying close attention to Oklahoma, to Missouri, to Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Yeah, and that's the thing. Typically, unless there's a giant change, like if clouds stay locked in, or if the jet streak doesn't round the base of the trough like it's expected to, or if things don't line up, you won't see that upgrade. But typically, whenever you see that enhanced risk 3 days out from the start of the event, it typically does go up to a moderate risk, because the Storm Prediction Center is very conservative this far out, and rightfully so. You should be, because you don't want to cry wolf when you're talking about, life and property, and that's what severe weather is. In the same breath, though, when you see something like this from the Storm Prediction Center, and they have been spot on, unfortunately, the last 2 times when they've added these day 4 and 5 higher probability risks, when you see that, it's, again, antennas up a little further. If you live here or know of anybody that lives here, you want to make sure you're paying close attention. And, of course, I'm planning on going live on this channel again Monday night into Tuesday to kind of track these storms as they are happening. Hopefully it's a dud. I would love nothing more. I've met a lot of people now on this channel that live in these areas. From Hattiesburg, we had like 6 tornado warnings last time, and I hate it. It's the worst part of the weather, but it's crazy. So here you go with the timing, and unfortunately for Arkansas, I do think this is late in the night. So this is at about 6 o'clock Central, and we're just getting things going in western Arkansas, into eastern Oklahoma, and then into eastern Texas. So this is when the real nasty stuff gets rolling. About midnight. I'm sorry, about 6 o'clock. As we get in 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Lost my train of thought. So now this is at midnight, okay? Midnight Central. And then that's when the strongest of the weather moves through most of Arkansas. So really, I think between like 6 p.m. till about 2 a.m. at this point. And again, keep on checking back. There's going to be things that are fine-tuned. The system itself is just, let me just back this up. This is what is kind of rolling through California right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the water vapor view in the satellite. I need to go to... Here, we're going to go to, and then here is our system right here that's going to go into, this is kind of the upper level juice, if you will, that will go into making it, and it's just coming ashore here. So over the next several hours and days, our weather balloons are going to get up in here to sample this better. Now, I keep on always say this too, it's good to have that upper air data. Satellites do a really good job of kind of showing what the heck is going on in this storm. As well, so we have a decent idea. But once it gets on land and gets in the upper air network that we have in the U.S., the forecast confidence tends to go up because we are getting more sampling in real time of this system. So by tomorrow, we're going to know a lot more on the timing. We'll get better data into the forecast models. So again, just a heads up on that Monday could be an ugly day. Me too. I would love to forecast another big one there. Just looking at all. So that is a good question. I'm going to go. This is a really kind of crazy map to show. This is the, let me see if I can change my, this is the 45-day European snowfall output. And you don't look at this for anything, just to kind of see. It's got a little bit there. Do you want to look at the mean for something like that? It doesn't have much. And that's the thing for, like, typically for Tennessee, we want it to be an El Nino year because we want to have that subtropical jet involved. So we have 2 jet streams. We have the polar jet that goes across the top of the country like this. And then we also have the subtropical jet that rolls down in here. Let me see. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So that's a good question. I might go live multiple times. I did that the last time. We're going to look at the stage, set the stage. I'm also going to try to get out a video. We'll see if I have time for all of that stuff because I want to get a video out of what I think is going to happen with the snow in the Midwest and plains, and then also that severe weather threat in the South, and then I'll likely go live as well. So probably multiple times, certainly as we get into the start of the event. So probably sometime Monday evening, we'll go and try to work that out as well. And for this one, no, I don't think so. That will be super, super wish casting, which sometimes I love to do. But I don't think this one has a chance to kind of dive further south. Let me bring up the countrywide thing. This one is gonna anytime for us for this will give me a good opportunity to change over to. I'll show you the heights. So this would be a good opportunity. For Tennessee, you don't want this kind of pattern. You don't want to see the dip in the jet stream out west. Because this is this is the Colorado low. So this is great for Minnesota, great for the plains. No, you're good. You're good. For the East Coast, the Southeast, to get snow, we're really looking for this kind of pattern. We're looking for the Boise Ridge, as we call it. We want a ridge out here, just like this, because we want to have a storm developing right out in here. We want to have it going this way, and then we want to have the secondary piece, the fuel, and then you want to have that explosion like right up in here. And Tennessee, that's how we get some good stuff with these storms that start going here. You need to have the Arctic air in place too, so you need to have like a nice big chunk of high pressure right there to kind of already have the cold air in place, because lows bring warmth up from the south, and if you have that there and all that stuff. Yes, I think that's why. I think that's what you're saying anyway. Because it's right about there. There's the low over Colorado. And so when you hear Colorado low, and you're in Iowa now, again, eastern Iowa, it doesn't always work like this, but you want to have the storm kind of coming in right where it's coming in, and then it gets finicky. You got to, fine tune things and all that stuff. Yeah, and all that jazz. So any weather radio would be great. If there's a news station that you watch in your area that you trust as well, their local weather app, which is typically free, also should have some alerts on there that you can customize and turn on that will wake you up on your phone. As well. So if you have whatever local news station you watch, they should have a weather app. If they don't, there's the Weather Channel, I think, has an alert thing, or Weather Bug might have something like that. And all that. Okay. So then I would definitely recommend getting that. Really any okay. I been there. Awesome. That's fantastic. Great stuff. So, yeah, in the short term, it would be and they're not expensive. You can get them at Walmart for like $10-$20. And then it'll come with a little programmer guide in there. You just have to set it to the right frequency. And then anytime that a tornado warning is issued or anything like that, that'll come through. Or if you're a thunderstorm warning, any of those life-threatening ones, flash flood warning as well, that will come on through into your weather radio. So certainly a good tool to have, especially like you said earlier, with the severe weather threat coming at night. For a lot of places in the South. Alrighty, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up before I lose my voice. I tend to do that. And again, I'll be saying goodbye for an hour because I love talking to everybody. Let me try to do some research. Let me look into it. I have one in my room. Let me try to do some research to see if I can find something on Amazon or something like that. That's kind of easy to program because they are sometimes very tedious. We have a lot of people come into our news station or ask us, like how do you program these? So I do think they need to get a little bit better on trying to figure out how to do that. But I'll try to scope around and look into that to see if there's one that comes program. You just have to kind of change things. So let me look into that. Oh, man. Yeah, I've ran several into the ground now. Several. Well, alrighty, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I know everybody's busy, and there's a lot going on this week. It's New Year's Eve. I want to wish everybody a happy New Year. We will be with you in 2023. Also, while I have a lot of you on, what would you like to see out of this channel? If you could post that in the comments, and then I'll get back and read out of them to kind of take this direction. Again, we're just a few months old here, and it's been awesome meeting everybody. So if you put in your own input to what you would like to see more of this channel, that would be great. We can kind of toy it to that liking so that you are getting the most out of this as we talk and track the weather together. If you are new here, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, and again, if you haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed and you do love talking about the weather or tracking the weather or just want to stay informed, we would love to have you on board. Please hit that subscribe button. That would be awesome. And yeah, it was great talking to everybody. Please be safe tonight. There are a lot of crazy people out there. Watch out for others. Be defensive. Drive defensive. All that stuff. So just please be safe and all of that stuff. Tabitha, okay. If I could control the weather, I would give it to you. I would give that to you for sure. Thank you for all you do as well. Alrighty, guys. Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you in 2023. Again, my plan for this week is to try to have just a regular video out on this storm on Monday that kind of highlights the snow in the upper Midwest and the severe weather threat. If I can't do that, we'll certainly be live multiple times on Monday, kind of highlighting what we're seeing in terms of the environment in the Deep South. And as the storm comes together, to give you the best information that I can give you to hopefully help. I appreciate that. And I hope you get your snowstorm. And I hope everybody stays safe during the bad weather as well. Alrighty, guys. If you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you on board. Hit that subscribe button. Absolutely no. And, I do like this kind of like this homey feel that we have with a lot of us that we've kind of gotten to know over the past few months. So don't worry. I'll always keep it that if it does get big, I'll always keep it that small town feel because that's what I like most about this. Is kind of talking to everybody and just seeing what everyone's seeing weather-wise and just kind of breaking down the weather together. That's what we like to do here. See, I told you that I was going to say bye like 5 times because I do that all the time. So, Happy New Year, everybody. Stay safe. Be weather aware on the West Coast, in the upper Midwest, and in the Deep South over the next several days. It was great talking to everybody. Enjoy your evening. Happy New Year.